Launching an MMO these days is very difficult. On the one hand, players aren't nearly as receptive as we used to be, and we no longer tolerate mediocre titles, or at the very least we shouldn't. Otherwise, we might end up with another game like Astellia Online. And on the other hand, a lot of MMOs released these days are kinda just crap. And that is actually where this title comes in. This is a game that I have covered multiple times over the course of the last 2 years. I was both impressed and disappointed with what I saw at various different points throughout the development process of the game. But one thing that I never expected to see was the monumental success that this game became. You know what else could be a monumental success though? Us, if you click that subscribe button, which you totally should if you're interested in new MMO news like this every day, general MMO discussions, MMO giveaways, and if you feel I deserve it, drop a like and a comment on the video. It's a huge help for the YouTube algorithm. Gran Saga launched earlier this year on January 26th. Prior to its release, the game had acquired over 5 million pre-registered players within South Korea alone, and released, much like Genshin Impact, onto both PC and mobile devices. This was one of the very first fully cross-platform AAA titles built for both systems, and it looked damn good graphically. I noted this repeatedly. This was, or rather is, an absolutely gorgeous anime MMORPG, one that is unparalleled right now. But then we don't really have much in the way of competition. During its first month, Gran Saga went on to obtain the top positions in terms of revenue made in the App Store, the Google Play Store, and the Galaxy Store, making this one of the most successful MMOs of 2021. And even more so, the most successful cross-platform MMORPG ever developed. And that is quite the accomplishment. But it comes as no surprise. Pixel, the development team, secured almost $100 million in funding for Gran Saga that allowed them to produce a title that was truly better than the vast majority of its competition, and evidently it showed. Pixel have since received an additional $65 million in funding to not only advance the game, to develop new content, but to also expand it and their team. I would like to note that this is some of the most extensive funding among any gaming startup within South Korea. Pixel themselves, within a mere 2 years of existing and within less than a year of having their flagship title launch, is now valued at over $1 billion. While Pixel have yet to confirm specifically how much the game made in total within its first month, being at the top of every single store means they made a return of well over $100 million within the first month alone, which I am genuinely surprised by. Even months after its release, Gran Saga remained a highly popular game, bringing in hundreds of thousands of views for their update videos on YouTube, and even more impressively, having the goddess that is Taeyeon perform the official theme song and music video for the game. Yet, I don't fully understand why. The logic behind why this is as popular as it is actually escapes me. Again, this is a beautiful game. You can tell that they put a lot of effort into not only the world, but also the character models and special effects. If this game were being judged purely off of its aesthetic look and feel, this would be an easy 7 or 8 out of 10. But as I noted in one of my last videos, Gran Saga has a lot of autoplay mechanics that, to me, inhibit it, limits its potential by providing substantially less for players to do. Combat, exploration. I get it. Korean players have acclimated to autoplay games that play themselves so you don't necessarily have to, but that isn't something that I feel Western players have necessarily accepted yet. I genuinely feel as though developing a gorgeous game like Gran Saga and then requiring little actual interaction, participation with it is a step in the wrong direction. But I mean, what do I know, right? I'm just a guy with a YouTube channel. This game has went on to garner hundreds of $millions in revenue since it released, and is continuing to push out not only new characters, but also large new updates. Now, interestingly enough, Gran Saga has up until this point remained exclusively within South Korea. But as of a few weeks ago, it turns out Pixel have confirmed that they are releasing the game within Japan as well. Yeah, Gran Saga is officially entering the Japanese market, and Japanese players are ecstatic. While the game had garnered over 5 million pre-registrations from Korean players, an incredible number, Japan seems a little less interested, with 1.1 million players pre-registering for the game, at least prior to the Tokyo Game Show held earlier this month. NPixel have yet to confirm official pre-registrations after the show concluded, but their goal was to heavily promote it during the event. In anticipation of launching within Japan, NPixel actually released a trailer for not only their brand new character Yuna, but also their largest update to date. While I do dislike autoplay mechanics in my games, I don't think they're enough to necessarily warrant excessive amounts of hatred for a game, nor unwarranted criticisms. Gran Saga is a highly unique MMO. It combines the gacha systems present in RPGs like Genshin Impact or Punishing Gray Raven with MMO elements such as hundreds of players out in the field at once, group content, and PvP. Instead of utilizing a single character like you would in a traditional MMO, instead you utilize a group of characters like you would in a traditional gacha game. Gran Saga have actually released an innovative new title that truly takes popular aspects of multiple different genres and combines them into something that is not only profitable, but also successful. And at the end of the day, I genuinely cannot believe that Gran Saga turned out to be as popular and as successful as it has. I completely understand why games like Genshin Impact or Punishing Gray Raven turned out as successful as they did. They're gorgeous games with no autoplay mechanics present, great combat, and a slew of waifus and husbandos to collect. But Gran Saga, while it remains the only game mentioned that I have yet to play, it just seems less polished, filled with too much clutter and too many auto mechanics. Granted, you don't have to utilize them, but let's be real here, you know you likely will. Regardless of my thoughts on the game, Gran Saga has absolutely shattered records for not only a mobile MMO, not only a PC MMO, but for a fully cross-platform MMO, one of the first of its kind. This is a game that has earned hundreds of millions of dollars since it launched, that has millions of players scattered across both platforms it released on, and has been one of the most played, highest earning Korean MMOs in 2021. The only games that have come close to earning as much as Gran Saga within its first month are Genshin Impact, which earned over $100 million, and Odin Valhalla Rising, which also went on to make roughly the same. The difference is that Genshin Impact is a Chinese game, whereas Odin and Gran Saga are both Korean. So, within their countries of origin, Odin and Gran Saga have both made hundreds of millions of dollars and have been some of the largest competitors any mobile or cross-platform title would have to face, even moving into 2022. I'm actually kind of surprised that we haven't received a Western confirmation for the game yet. I'm happy to see Japan is receiving it, but a North American and European release would open this game up to so many more players. And we love anime MMOs and anime in general over here. There is a market for it, guys. Whether or not Gran Saga looks remotely interesting to you or not, you cannot deny how much of an overwhelming success the game has been. This is the most successful cross-platform MMORPG ever made, and NPixel themselves have acquired even more funding with which to expand the game. I'm not overly fond of autoplay in my games, but with how popular this game has become, I can guarantee you I would give them the benefit of the doubt to change my mind over how I feel about the game. I'm not going to crucify a game before I play a sufficient amount of it. I did pour over 40 hours into V4 and over 60 hours straight into Punishing Gray Raven after all, and admittedly I did end up spending probably over $150 in Punishing Gray Raven total. I look forward to the day that NPixel confirms a Western English release of Gran Saga. I'm genuinely intrigued by it, and I'm even more so interested to see how the Western market both reacts to and receives the game. The largest cross-platform MMO in the East? Hell yeah, we need this game right now.
Someday soon, I'm gonna make it. Yeah, all hard work's gonna be worth it. Ooh,